Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. Before we announce two new programs to help Oklahomans, I want to share some thoughts on the Juneteenth celebration. You know, today America celebrates the formal end of slavery. It was on this day, on June 19th, 1865, that the legal reality of the Emancipation Proclamation became a manifestation in Texas. And it seemed that finally freedom had come to my black brothers and sisters. Freedom, this quality of human existence that God gives us the moment we are born, and that He has determined must be the possession of all peoples, regardless of race, tongue, or tribe. This freedom is what we celebrate today. Ours, however, is not a celebration of completion. The journey that this nation began in 1863 sadly is unfinished. Today, as your governor, but above all as a man who loves and fears God, I declare unconditionally and unequivocally, that the life of every black man, woman, and child matters. They matter to God, they matter to me, and they matter to Oklahoma. I know that on the eve of President Lincoln's proclamation on January 1st, 1863, there were night vigils and prayer meetings at churches where black men and women and children, they waited to hear the trumpet sound of freedom. We celebrate Juneteenth because at last the presidential proclamation had finally reached Texas. Over 2 long years later, you see there was a gap between what the truth was and its realization by all enslaved persons. My fellow Oklahomans, the gap between what the law says and the lived experiences of life for many black people is a gap that still exists today. And it's a gap that's still too wide, too deep, and too long. It required a constitutional amendment to end slavery in our country. I believe that yet again, we need another type of amendment, an amendment of attitudes, of hearts, of actions, and of words. We can admit and repent for racism even if we haven't seen it firsthand. I believe, as the Bible says, that if one part suffers, we all suffer. So I don't want this day to be only about words, though words are important. We know that words wound and words can heal. But words are not enough to close this gap. We must not just be hearers, we must also do things differently in Oklahoma. Every Oklahoman must examine his or her heart. We must raise our children to love people, educate them about our history, so that future generations can avoid the failures that have plagued us. We must be willing to join hands across race and ethnicity as we run this race to justice. The journey we are on must continue. Racial equality is not just a legal concept, it is an eternal and an unchangeable truth. It is God that makes us equal. Our laws, regulations, and institutions must reflect, defend, uphold, and advance this truth with every resource, strength of our great state. I ran for governor because I desperately wanted change for Oklahoma. You voted for me because you also wanted change. We may not always agree on how to bring about that change, but let us begin with what we know to be true, what we do agree on. And that is that as we look ahead to the future, we must see that justice is done. We must let mercy be our first concern, and we must have faith that God will help us overcome our history. We are Oklahoma strong only if each one of us is fully assured a seat at the table and a rightful seat in our great state. Thank you, and may God bless and unite each and every Oklahoman. We're also here today to announce 2 new programs that will use Federal CARES Act funding to help Oklahomans who are struggling with their rent and Oklahomans who also own and operate small businesses. Today, we are investing $10 million in an eviction mitigation program. This fund will provide reimbursements to organizations paying landlords for rental assistance to individuals or families due to COVID-19 pandemic. Organizations are eligible for up to $300,000 reimbursement to stand up programs or team to administer or mitigate eviction filing deferments. It's available for individuals or families are eligible up to $3,600 in eviction mitigation support. By partnering with existing organizations like the Schusterman Family Foundation, Community Action Partnership, Inasmuch Foundation, the state is able to leverage existing networks and relationships to quickly get this money out to Oklahomans who need it. Restore Hope Ministries here in Tulsa is a great example of groups that we're excited to partner with. Restore Hope has prevented more than 1,000 Tulsans from becoming homeless just this last year alone. And their program has a success rate of more than 99%. I'd now like to introduce the Reverend Jeff Janes, the Executive Director of Restore Hope Ministries, to share a few words about this great organization.
Thank you so much, Governor. Thank you so much, Governor, for our participation in this program and for this program as a whole. This program will affect thousands of families right here in our area. We're glad that all of you are here today at Restore Hope. Restore Hope was founded in 1978 by the United Methodist Church to reach out and help families in need. And for the last 25 of those years, we have been preventing homelessness. As the governor said, last year we helped 1,149 of our neighbors in need prevent eviction with a 99.47% success rate. Governor, it's even more helpful to know the national average is 70%. And we have not dipped below 99% in the years that we've been tracking that number. And so our program is effective, it's efficient, and these funds will help us to expand that program. Governor, with the rain coming down today, it's a little bit of a trigger back to about a year ago when we had a flood. And the river is just about 100 yards away from us. We were protected, thankfully, at Restore Hope thanks to a levee. Unfortunately, there were others who were not protected by that levee. There is a flood of evictions in our community, in our area, over 1,200 evictions every single month. And I hope that these funds will help us to not just provide sandbags, but to provide some of the beginnings of that levee, to help change some of the systems, to help make a difference for families in need. These are families for whom wages haven't kept up with the rise in rent. They're families who get sick and don't have access to health care. They're families who need to get to their job but don't have good transportation to get there and have to fix their car with their rent money to do just that. So thank you so much for that effort. Thank you for these funds. These funds will help us help our neighbors in need. And I pray that they will not only help those neighbors, but that they will help us to build that system, that levee, to make a difference. So thank you for that. Thank you for this amazing effort. We're proud to be a part of it. Thank you. I think it's you.
Forgot to run a show there. That's right. Thank you so much, Reverend. Your team is really doing a really good job. We really appreciate you. I'm also excited to announce the Oklahoma Business Relief Program. So this program is a version of the federal PPP program with a few different features. We have grants up to $25,000 for businesses who have suffered due to COVID-19. We are investing $100 million in this program in 2 separate $50 million tranches. And we are setting aside $20 million will be set aside for minority-owned businesses, $10 million in each phase. This program will be run through the Oklahoma Department of Commerce, and I'd like to ask Secretary of Commerce Sean Copeland to share some of the details with you. Mr. Secretary.
Governor. Appreciate it. So this is a really good day for me because it is Juneteenth. It is my birthday, and I love Restore Hope Ministries. I'm a huge fan of Jeff and what they do here. I'm equally as excited to give you a little bit more detail about this Oklahoma Business Relief Program. And we've been working for several weeks now to try to come up with what we believe is the best business relief program in the country. As the governor mentioned, it is very similar to the Paycheck Protection Program, except for the fact that it is needs-based. One of the downsides of the PPP program, as we all saw in the news, is many companies access those dollars that didn't really need it. And so in this program, we'll prove up need, and I'll talk about that here in just a moment. The timeline, which is going to be very important for both our banks that are going to help us administer the program and credit unions, as well as the businesses, will be as follows. Today, obviously, we make the announcement, and financial institutions may begin applying to be a vendor at the state level so that they can offer this program. On June 22nd and 23rd, next Monday and Tuesday, we will be offering training for all banks and credit unions statewide so that they're ready to offer the program. The application will be available on the Department of Commerce website on June 26th. And that is key. So that's the first time that our businesses will be able to access the application and apply. And we will accept applications until July the 10th. On July the 10th, that will be our phase 1 application deadline, and we'll begin distributing the grants on July the 17th. And then we will move into phase 2 for another $50 million, as the governor mentioned. There is a maximum of $25,000 per grant, and the grants are calculated by taking 2 months of payroll for the business. And so it's basically, they can take their 2019 average payroll, or they can take January and February of 2020 to determine their payroll amount, and they can get up to $25,000. As I mentioned, they must have suffered a decline in revenue of 25% from 2019 to 2020. So what we'll do is we're going to ask them to provide a P&L, a profit and loss statement for 2019. We'll look at the top line revenue, and then they will look at March through May profit and loss for this year. We'll get a monthly average, and as long as there was a 25% decline, they can qualify for this program. One bit of really good news, 501c6 organizations are eligible for our program, whereas they were not eligible for PPP. So chambers of commerce, economic development organizations, other 501c6 nonprofits are eligible. And there are really no mandates for the grant. So the business may use this up to $25,000 as they wish. As long as it is an operating expense within the business. So there aren't any requirements there. There are no fees at all. Our banks and credit unions have agreed to provide this processing at no cost to help our business community. And the businesses have to be located in Oklahoma, in good standing with the Secretary of State and the Tax Commission. They have to have been in business from January 1st before January 1st of 2020, and all types of businesses, including sole proprietors, do qualify. It's very simple to apply. The business will simply go to okcommerce.gov/relief. We will have the application there ready on Friday. They download the application, bring it along with the documents that I mentioned earlier into their local bank or credit union. The bank or credit union will then apply on their behalf to the Department of Commerce, and we will fund the grant. So we are very excited to help thousands of Oklahoma businesses that we know need it. We know what a difficult time this has been for our business community, and we're excited to do our part to try to help them. So I really appreciate the governor's support in putting such a significant sum of money behind this effort. So at this time, I would like to introduce you all to David Castillo. He is the chairman of our Minority Business Council, the first council of its kind in the state of Oklahoma, and he's going to visit about how this can impact his business community. Thank you.
Good afternoon. put my glasses on because I'm really old. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Governor. You guys are doing an awesome job. Appreciate everything that you're doing for the minority business owners across Oklahoma. About a year and a half ago, we established the Governor's Minority Business Council. It was formed to help advise the Governor and the Department of Commerce on the needs of minority business community in order to help them become successful. Minority businesses have always struggled to access capital, and with this pandemic, more than ever, minority businesses are in need of relief. Let me give you a little quick story, if I could, about what's going on in the minority community. I'll give you a story about a small company, small restaurant. It's a Mexican bakery restaurant in Oklahoma City. The owner passed away just before the pandemic hit. And so his wife had to take over the restaurant and bakery. And so, you know, she was struggling, trying to get everything in line, trying to get it going. And then the pandemic hit. And so it really affected that business, that small business, so much. You know, it was a restaurant and bakery, so they had to close. They had to close the restaurant side, and then they laid off all the workers on the restaurant side. They lost about 80% of their business, and so it was very difficult for her, being a new, really business owner, and then having to go through this pandemic as well. So, you know, access to capital is so important for small minority businesses. She's starting to pick it back up again, but this money that we're talking about is incredible for her. I mean, something like that will help her get back on her feet and get the restaurant going. So those are the things that you know, there's more stories just like that across the minority community, more stories. And so us opening, or the Governor and the Secretary of Commerce opening this avenue for minority businesses is something that we've never seen before. And so we really appreciate you guys. You guys are doing a good job. The Minority Business Council was put together just for this, to open up opportunities for minority businesses. And so again, I applaud you guys and thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you, David. We, on behalf of myself and the Secretary of Commerce, you know, it's our goal. We want all businesses to thrive, and whatever we can do to help minority businesses, we want to make sure that you guys have every opportunity you can. And so thank you for your service, your leadership. Also have Senator Allison Hickey Freeman here with us, and so thank you for your leadership. Really, really appreciate that. And we've got Representative J. Dean Nolan with us as well. So thank you. I could not do it. I know Secretary of Commerce could not do it without the help of our friends in the House and the Senate. They do a really, really good job. So also wanted to give everyone an update on Oklahoma's COVID situation. We are now 57 days in to our safely and measurably reopening plan. So 57 days in. I always want to remind Oklahomans that coronavirus is still in the United States and it's still in Oklahoma. So we still have to remain vigilant and protect ourselves with washing of the hands and keeping ourselves safe. But Oklahomans believe in placing value on facts over fears, and so that's why we have been getting awards of being the most transparent state. We're putting all the data out there for Oklahomans. We believe in freedom. And we will give Oklahomans accurate data so they can decide how to protect themselves and their families. So currently in the state of Oklahoma, we have 211 people in the hospital across the state. As you know, we built capacity and we have close to 5,000 hospital beds available. So that surge plan is still in place as we speak, both in Oklahoma City and in Tulsa. As we are now 18 days into our phase 3, here's what the data shows. Since we went to phase 3 on June 1st, 54% of the cases are 35 years old or younger, and 75% of all new positive cases are under 50. So of the 2,093 cases under 50, there have been 3 deaths, which is a 0.14% death rate. We know this virus has a significantly more severe effects on the elderly population, the most vulnerable, immune-compromised population. If you're at higher risk of COVID-19, I'd encourage you to continue to, you're safer at home to protect yourself. At the same time, we have to learn to live with this virus. Younger people are overwhelmingly likely to have mild or no symptoms at all. So we want to just always give the information we can to Oklahomans and let them make their decisions on how they're going to protect themselves accordingly. We have Commissioner Fry with us, who's over our State Department of Health, who's here to answer any questions. And so I'll open it up now for a few questions.
Assistance first. Tulsa, Oklahoma City, and Norman have asked you to put a moratorium in place on all evictions in the state because they found it not cover every eviction. Are you taking them up on that request to do an eviction moratorium through July?
You know, our legal team looked at that, and as far as getting involved, we don't have the authority to go into the courts to determine what can be done on the eviction side, so we're not going to mess with that. However, that's why we put $10 million into this eviction mitigation plan. We think it's really the right way to do it to help some folks. We also have to remember we have also sent out over, I think it's up to $700 million now for folks that are unemployed. So we're getting checks out there to folks that have lost their job. And the great thing about Oklahoma is our economy is coming back. We are reopening. The workforce is coming back as well.
Governor, do you have any concerns that as the cases spike, even though most are young people right now, that either A, they could pass those people who are more vulnerable, or there could be a hospitalization spike coming, and how are you guys looking at that possibility?
Well, we knew all along that we would have an increase in positive cases. Oops. Hope that wasn't your mic.
It was.
That was.
Sorry about the lecture.
I didn't think you were going to
I mean, I don't know why they don't get me a bigger podium here.
That's on me, Governor, sorry.
That's all right. So we always knew as we safely reopened, 57 days in, that we would see a slight increase in cases. The thing that Oklahomans need to understand and remember is we peaked on March 30th with 560 people in the hospital. And what was the reason that I've signed 25 different executive orders? It was to slow the curve. The objective was never to have 0 cases in the state of Oklahoma. It's just not possible. It's not possible today. It's not possible in November. It's not possible in December. Coronavirus is in the U.S. It's in Oklahoma. So we have to learn how to deal with that. We wanted to build up our PPE. We wanted to build up our hospital capacity. And ever since March 30th, we have been under that peak. And so the thing that we're seeing is we're seeing an increase in positives, but it's also in the folks that are, a lot of them are asymptomatic. You've got to also realize we have significantly increased our testing. We're testing now 5,000 and 6,000 people a day, and we're still around 4%, a little under 4%, I believe, in positive cases. And so I'll continue to share that data with Oklahoma. Oklahomans are ready to start moving forward, and we have to learn how to safely move forward in our daily lives, really. And we're going to have to deal with this.
Is there ever, in the R's plan, is there ever a trigger or a threshold that needs to be met before you say, it's time to go back to phase 2 or time to go back to phase 1, or are we just phase 3, we're here, we're done with it?
Well, and you got to remember, we're fully reopened now, and we've been kind of on this phase for 57 days. 57 days into reopening, and we have 211 people in the hospital. So I'm not going to give you a number. I don't really have a number in my head, but the deal is we will watch that, and we'll know. If you remember, some of the predictions early on were that by this time we would have 5,000 people a day going into the hospital. There were people predicting 350,000 cases in Tulsa County alone. So again, Oklahomans did a fantastic job. We innovated. People worked from home. We social distanced. We changed our behavior. We're elbow bumping. We're wearing masks. The people that are sick are staying home. Our elderly population specifically. We have that safer at home for those. We stopped visitation in our nursing homes, in our prisons. I'll tell you, our prison folks, Chip Keating and Director Crow, don't get enough credit. Nationally, people know what happened in Oklahoma, and they just can't believe it. We've had 2 cases in our prison system because early on in March, we stopped visitation. We sent masks and made all of our prisoners do that. And they have done a fantastic job managing that prison population. So couldn't be prouder of where we're at. But again, I know the media, and you want to ask the question: is it too early? Is it too late? Hey, let Oklahoma decide. This is what freedom is about. This is what we believe in Oklahoma. If you feel more comfortable staying at home, stay at home. If you feel more comfortable getting out and starting back with your business, then that's what we want you to do.
Well, and I asked that because we've got the 2 boogeyman scenarios we keep hearing is it's going to come back strong in the fall, or after this Trump rally, half the state's going to be hacking up a lung. So at what point do we say, okay, we need to step back? Did the hours plan ever have a option to step back in it?
Well, I just answered that question.
Well, when you said there's no threshold,
Yeah.
can you do that?
Well, sure. If I as the governor see us overstripping our hospital capacity, if we see PPE supply going back the other way, we have done a fantastic job. Our strategic national supply in Oklahoma City, we have millions and millions of masks, gowns. We have the supply to deliver to our first responders, our hospitals. If we see us getting back to capacity or reaching any kind of threshold where I think we're on a trajectory to overrun our health system, then of course. And then my health professionals are here, and we can let him. We're listening. I'm in contact with our Department of Health on a daily basis, and we're talking about what we're seeing, what the needs are. We're looking at what's happening in other states. But I'll always make decisions on what's best for the state of Oklahoma. And but we'll leave that to the health guys to advise us. But we'll know when we're kind of going back in an unhealthy direction.
The mayor talked on Wednesday about how mask wearing, in his experience, has kind of become this political act, or there's a lot of politics tied around it. Is that something that you have seen, and how, given the personal responsibility and public health balance, what do you have to say about that?
Well, again, to me, it's about personal responsibility. It's about, I'm going to present all the data to Oklahomans. I'm going to let them choose how they want to, how active they want to be with their family to protect their health. And it's going to depend on their age and whether they're immune compromised. If you feel more comfortable wearing a mask, we certainly encourage that. We're going to be doing temperature checks at the rally tomorrow. There'll be a lot of people wearing masks. I think they're going to be providing masks to people. So you'll see a lot of folks with masks, and you'll see some folks that choose not to wear them. And I've never been one that would mandate something like that. And so we just we'll let that be a personal responsibility.
Governor, this morning the president tweeted, quote, "Any protesters, anarchists, agitators, looters, or lowlifes who are going to Oklahoma, please understand, you will not be treated like you've been in New York, Seattle, or Minneapolis. It will be a much different scene." A, do you know what he's talking about there? Should peaceful protesters be concerned that it'll be a much different scene outside the DOJ scene?
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the president was talking about, but I assume, peaceful protesters, absolutely. I've got the police there. We've got Tulsa Police Department. We've got Highway Patrol. We'll have some National Guard folks behind the scenes. We will protect your right to peacefully protest. There's a difference, though. When you start destroying someone else's property, then we're going to be there, and we're going to be tough on that. We're going to make sure that we hold those folks accountable. But if you're a peaceful protester, we welcome your voice to be heard in Tulsa. I'm not worried at all about Oklahomans. Oklahomans have been doing things the right way. The president has a different perspective because he sees stuff happen in other states. And again, it's so easy for us to compare what happens in New York or Minnesota or California. This is Oklahoma. We have the Oklahoma standard. We have so much more unity in Oklahoma. And I'm not worried about it unless there's people that come in from out of state. But if they want to peacefully protest, I will protect that. Our law enforcement will be there to protect that. But if there is violence, or if there's when somebody tries to destroy someone else's property, that's when we're going to be tough on that, and we would make some arrests.
Governor, I know the OK Center has been center stage for a lot of controversy. How do you feel going in tomorrow for an event people want postponed or even canceled for safety reasons?
Yeah, there's going to be folks that, there's going to be naysayers about the president coming. My question is, when is the right time? Is it in July or August or November? This is just one of 100 rallies that's going to happen between now and November. Oklahoma is the first state to have a rally like this. That's why we're getting a lot of attention. There's been 1 million requests for tickets. That's pretty unprecedented. So there's a lot of folks that are very excited about it. But you have some, obviously, that don't agree with the president's policies, and they're going to try to thwart any effort for him to come or try to throw up a lot of roadblocks. But again, there's 1 million requests to come see the president. As the governor, and as most Oklahomans, we're here to be as safe as possible, show the president a great time, and we're excited to have him here in our state. I was with the president yesterday in D.C., and he's excited to come to Oklahoma, and excited to come see everyone. And so he called. I've talked to him 3 times this week, just asking if we need anything, and he's also concerned and wanted to make sure that it's done the right way as well.
You had previously tossed out the idea of the president possibly going to the Greenwood area, and have since kind of backed off on that. Have you finalized what he might see while he's here?
We did. I originally thought it was a good idea for him to see the Greenwood area, but with the Secret Service and the disruption to the celebrations today, we talked to the African American community, and they said that would not be a good idea. So we asked the president not to do that. The Secret Service and stuff haven't kind of released his exact schedule yet, but I know the vice president will be here. I'll be with him. He's going to be meeting with some African American leaders around the Greenwood and the celebration for next year. And so we're excited to have him here. I think this is really good for Tulsa. It's really good for the 1921 race massacre. It's going to be, we appropriated $1.5 million last year as a state to build that museum. The 9/11 architects actually are the ones that designed it. They're the same ones that designed the 9/11 museum. They designed this one. I saw their presentation. It's really putting a lot of focus on Oklahoma, and the story is going to be told. It's going to be really good for Oklahoma. So we're excited that the president is going to be here on Saturday. I was glad he moved it from the 19th to the 20th, and but it's going to be a good thing for Oklahoma. It's going to be a good thing to showcase the country, what Oklahomans are made of.
How come you were glad he moved it a day?
Well, because of the Juneteenth celebration, and getting it off of that day, I think was better for the African American community. So when they called and reached out to me, that's when we reached out to the president. We said, hey, this is not a good day to have this. Let's move it to the 20th. And but you got to remember, the president doesn't call and ask anybody's permission where he's going to go and what state he's going to fly to. We find out that he decided to come to Tulsa, and so we're going to make the best of it. And he agreed with us and moved it to the 20th when we requested that, and so that was a good thing.
Thanks, everybody. Can I ask the Commissioner just one thing?
Yeah, go for it.
The coronavirus update was delayed yesterday because of a technical glitch. What was that, and how do you guys fix that?
Yes, we have fixed it. It's we use an older system that we've had for a very long time, the FIDO system, and there's been 2 times, I think, in the last few months where there's been a glitch where we had to go in and then pull all that data out, then validate it, make sure we went back through and make sure that there weren't duplicates and everything. So it just takes a while, but by the end of the day, we were able to get that back out.
Sounds like it uses some digital transformation.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.